What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol CRWD for CrowdStrike Holdings. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, we have the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, I need to point out to you guys that they did give us an earnings announcement after the bell today, so let's flip on the extended hours session and see what's going on with the number. So right off the bat, clearly some volatility to the downside, large red candles. These upper wicks are probably fake prints here inside of Thinkorswim. It has a tendency to do that. But for the sake of today's video, let's assume that we're going to be opening on a gap down. Remember, a lot can happen between now and 9:30, but this is the framework that we're going to use to navigate the open should we truly remain on a gap down by the time the bell comes around. So for right now, let's assume that the open is going to be here around 268, call it 269, right? Let's round up there. And let's say that the overnight low is down here at 267.50. Great, let's turn that off now and focus our attention over on let's actually do it on the 30-minute time frame chart, just because it'll be a little bit easier to look at these numbers. So the first thing we have to think about whenever we're dealing with a gap in any direction is the possibility for a gap and trap. Now, the gap and trap would mean that we actually move to fill the gap overhead coming into the low of today's session at 278.44. So what that might look like would be an open here, a failure to take out the overnight low, trade back up through the open. As you know, the target is, of course, the gap fill overhead. Because it's such a large gap, it's about $10, give or take. So right now, let's go ahead and take out the Fibonacci's and just get a general idea of where the potential 50% retracement would be. So doing something like that to illustrate where that number would be, you can clearly see it right here, right in the middle. That's at 273.70 just about. We'll clean up those Fibonacci's, and that should be the first target, and then ultimately the gap fill up towards 278.44. So that's how I'm thinking about potential upside. If it really gets going after that, I would keep a close eye on this level right here and simply picking out this 281.35 because we had prior resistance, then turned support, then turned into resistance in this section towards the end of the day on today's trading session. So very technical level there. If it is breached, I would say there's an argument to make a run for the all-time high here at 289.24. Do keep in mind, though, again, from the daily perspective, do you really think that there's going to be a daily green candle that looks something like this? Now, it's not completely off the table, but the odds of that happening are probably lower as opposed to higher. Now, the flip side of this coin, of course, is the possibility for a gap and go, meaning that we move lower off of the open instead of the gap and trap for the move higher. And what that might look like would be something like this. It would be, if we open here, do something like this, consolidate, then we're looking for a breakdown of the overnight low at 267.53 as of right now, and we target the next major area of support from the daily perspective. So now, shifting the attention to the daily, you can see the next thing to really contend with underneath is this, also large gap. So I would say the top of the gap and the 50 SMA will start to offer some support around 258.62, and if we start trading under that, it's kind of look out below. Just because of all the poor structure here, there is possibility, and again, would you really think the daily candle does something like this to the downside? There's possibility, but is it likely? Probably, it's less likely than more likely, but the gap underneath us could technically fill all the way down towards our 246.75 area. So those are the two main things that I'm thinking about on CrowdStrike as we move towards the bell at 9:30 tomorrow. You have the framework. These two numbers right here could potentially change by the time the market actually opens. But again, use this framework. It's going to allow you to take trades with tight risk and, of course, manage where your expectations should be if you get the gap and go or the gap and trap, regardless of what other people are saying, right? This is going to give you concrete numbers to be watching out for. So if you enjoyed the video or learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.